DAP is a hauntingly beautiful, Pikmin-esque game where you assemble a posse of a bunch of little cute DAP guys and send them out on an adventure into this big scary world full of bats and puzzles and all-encompassing black fog that slowly turns your cute little DAP guys against you into horrible monsters, but mostly bats. The only way to prevent this horrible fate is to light up a campfire and have your little dabs huddle close to it. Now, what I think is going on here is that Spooky and Skippy here are looking for a host that they can, I don't know, I guess they're trying to escape their collapsing dimension. Is their world ending or is my world ending? Are they both ending? Like, are we both screwed here? The story, well, is a little vague, but that doesn't really matter. After all, you're just a barely sentient little DAP guy that's just thrown into a confusing and scary world that's coming to an end. Huh. Maybe this game's just a little bit too real. LAMENTUN is a 2D survival horror game where you play as Victor, whose wife is dying of an uncurable wasting disease. Desperate, Victor cuts a deal with a guy who's totally trustworthy and is not going to stab you in the back at all. And he stabbed me in the back, and all hell is broken loose. And we're not talking about your nice, cushy, safe Christian hell. No fire brimstone in this fucker, right? We're in Cthulhu hell here with tentacles. You need items to save your game. You need items to not die. You also need items to make other things die. And also you need items to solve puzzles. What I'm trying to get through to you is that items are very important. At one point, out of my 9 slots, 6 of them had ruins I needed to solve a puzzle. So you'll be going back and forth from the safe rooms just to put things in your stash. The game could use some quality of life improvements, just, make it a bit more player friendly. But those are nitpicks on what is in fact an atmospheric and well-written Victorian era survival horror game. You Suck at Parking is an accurate, realistic driving simulator of how people actually drive these days. The goal is simple: get to the parking space using as many cars as it takes. Brakes? What are brakes? If I stop my car, it will never start again. That's why I just slowly roll through intersections. Just like real life, you are the only competent driver on the road. The civic planners are all insane idiots, and everyone's trying to ram you off the road to collect insurance. As you're driving through the hub world, you get to realize that this is what it's like to live in a car commercial. You're the only car around and you can just drive through this nice serene environment. The levels, while starting off easy enough, quickly turn into a brutal automobile-inspired hellscape, requiring either absolutely perfect precision or insane jumps over barriers. And in some levels, both! You Suck at Parking is a challenging, little arcade-style driving game that does the impossible. It makes parking fun and rewarding. Despot's Game is a strategic survival roguelite where you take control of a party of puny humans who are thrown naked into this horrible dungeon where they will be forced to fight against everything from zombies to giant robots to Daleks from Doctor Who. But don't you worry your soft, squishy, puny human head. You have access to your own pop culture references to fight against them. Though all your puny humans are pretty damned expendable, so I wouldn't get too attached to your Sailor Moon. Your responsibilities as a caretaker for these puny humans is to make sure that they are fed, dressed, and placed properly, as you do not have direct control over them once the combat starts. Their defective human instincts take over. Feeding your puny humans is very important, because if you don't, they will simultaneously become less effective at combat and more effective at dying. You can forcefully volunteer a select human to become the next meal. Hey, meat's meat. The game has a lot of strategies and a lot of synergies you can use, but that requires the holy blessing of RNGesus to come down from on high, to even have the ability to hire the right human to execute the combo. The one I found the most effective was I got the mutation that made them explode upon death, and then, naturally, I stacked up on a whole bunch of naked, scared, puny humans and threw them straight into the enemy with the hopes that they would kill them when they blew up. I never said I was a good person. Snuff is a family-friendly Call of Duty Zombies-esque game where you play as a teddy bear defending a young girl's door from a massive horde of nightmares. One of the more impressive things about this game is its enemy variety, both in their aesthetics and their behavior. You have gnomes, which basically function as zombies, slowly walking towards you. You have rubber duckies with glow-in-the-dark vampire teeth that lunge at you. You have flying robots that shoot at you. You have these dolls that only move when you're not looking at them. And then you also have all these humanoid enemies that make a beeline right for the little girl's door. I know what you're thinking, and no, alright? They're just nightmares. There's no subtext here. Earn money and experience points by killing these nightmares. Use that to both level up your teddy and unlock new areas of the map that give you access to better weapons. Really like the aesthetics of the weapons, even though it's kind of hard to tell what they are just by looking at them. Like, this is a grenade launcher, obviously. Stuffed is a bit more than just a friendly Call of Duty clone. The fun aesthetics and the excellent enemy variety elevate this game into something that is both unique and fun. Despite the name, Guilt the Deathless is both a roguelike and a Souls-like game, so guess what? You'll be dying quite a bit. In fact, you probably died right after character creation, seeing as how you start off waking up on top of a pile of corpses, with only a mysterious note that probably isn't even addressed to you telling you not to give up and save the world. I certainly don't feel like the chosen one, seeing as how a lot of the enemies would rather spend their time beating each other or beating corpses. That is until they ambush you and throw a force field around you so you have to fight them. Aw, just when I thought you guys didn't care. You throw me a little surprise party. Different levels may have different environmental effects, everything from blizzards to nightmares to miasma gas, which turns this game into a single-player battle royale. You can do a little bit of grave robbing, but then you get called a jerk, and then the game gets harder for everyone. I never would have thought that some madman would have combined both the bullet hell roguelike shooter and Dark Souls combat, but they did. That is pretty good. In Starfetchers, you play as a minimum wage convenience store worker who gets recruited/kidnapped into the Thorns, a gang consisting of your dumbass and a lunatic. Now this lunatic has a dream. He is going to become top dog of this blasted urban shithole, and he doesn't care how many gangbangers or Satanists or Satanist gangbangers he's got to eviscerate to do it. The combat is fast, fluid, and fun. You have one-to-one control with your mouse to your sword, and you can use it not only to decapitate motherfuckers, but also deflect bullets, which I would advise you do that quite a bit. Because you are not Neo. Good luck dodging those bullets, and all it takes is one hit for you to die. But don't worry too much, because you can respawn right away and get right back into the action. The platforming, fun. The combat, great. The soundtrack, bumpin'. The game, free on Steam. Link below in the description, check it out. In Lovecraft Tales, you are on your way to Dunwich to defeat the Shoggoth, or feed it, one of the two. Then the game slaps you on the ass, tells you to go get him Skippy, and sets you off on your adventure. Where your adventure mostly entails you getting crushed, and drowned, and eaten, and platforming, and eaten, and solving puzzles. Now, just because your player character happens to have the life expectancy of a lemming in a speedball being punched by Mike Tyson, doesn't mean that this game's particularly difficult. Checkpoints are placed well and respawns are really fast. Current build of the demo does absolutely no tutorial tips, so you just gotta look at the controls and figure it out that way. The platforming is kind of the weak part of this game. Character's movement speed's kind of slow, and his jump is a set length. That being said, any game where you can throw a moose into a wood chipper has my seal of approval. JUSTICE.EXE is set in a future where machines have gained sentience, and instead of exterminating humanity in a horrifying nuclear genocide, they decided that they would rather just live in human civilization and keep doing what they're doing. Well, if that's what the robots really want, they're gonna need the help of the most despicable and disgusting type of human out there. Lawyers. Your character has a choice of one skill and one network, so you can be a fast talker with criminal connections, or an intellectual with bureaucratic friends, cause you'd be really exciting at parties, I'm sure. There are two stages to this game, trial and pre-trial. In pre-trial, you are talking to the witnesses, gathering evidence, and building your case. Justice moves fast in the future, and you have a limited amount of actions you can do before trial begins. Once trial begins, it is up to you to form your arguments and put the proper spin on it in order to manipulate the jury more effectively. JUSTICE.EXE is a well-presented, intriguing game with a lot of depth. Worth checking out. ZAPLING BYGONE is a 2D metrovania puzzle platformer where you play as an adorable skull-stealing pile of goo that has crash-landed on the planet and is looking to build a new home. The planet you crashed into is a bit of a fixer-upper. Just a smidge of bloodthirsty vermin and human corpses that need to be cleaned up. The skulls that you collect are not just a fashionable hack. They also allow you to access the memories of its former owner. Just don't be expecting a story of sunshines and rainbows coming from a forgotten skull lying in a cave. You can pick and choose your upgrades by finding these little trinkets located in strategic places around the map. Defeating bosses gets you new abilities that allow you to access different locations around the map. The bosses are definitely the weak part of the demo, but this game is an alpha build of a Kickstarter project that was successfully funded, so I'm hoping that the bosses get a little bit of TLC before the final release. I really enjoyed my time with Zapling Bygone, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this game turns out when it's released.